Hi, this is Tim Meyer from Keep Yourself Relevant. Thanks for joining. Today, I want to spend a little time talking about a book that I read recently called The Introverted Leader by Jennifer Conweiler. And it's a really good book for those of you that are introverts. It gives you some tips on how you can be a leader while being an introvert. And then in another section of the book, uh, it talks about how you can be a leader and lead a team as an introvert. And I'll do another video on that as well. So with that, let's get started. The agenda for today's video is going to be spending a little time talking about the definition of what an introvert and an extrovert is. Then we'll spend a little time talking about the 4P process, which is the process that you could use on your own to learn to be a better leader, as well as some tips. You can use the same 4P process to actually lead your team. So it's a process that you can use for your individual work on yourself, personal growth, as well as something that you can use if you're a leader of a team. Then we'll spend a little time talking through an example of how you can use the 4P process, and then how you would apply it longer term. And then just giving you a heads up that I will also be doing a second video on how you lead people using this 4P process. This video is again going to focus on doing the 4Ps for your individual personal growth. So with that, let's get started. The characteristics of the introverts and extroverts. On an introvert side, we have you're energized by solitude, must have breaks. And this is when you're looking at potentially doing an offsite, you want to take this into account. While an extrovert is energized by other people, breaks are nice but not required. Introvert is reserved, while an extrovert is an enthusiastic. Introverts express thoughts after reflection, and extrovert expresses thoughts immediately. Introvert is private at first, and extrovert shares openly. Introverts are low-key facial expressions, while an extrovert has an expressive face. An introvert prefers writing, an extrovert prefers talking. An introvert likes small groups or one-on-one focused conversations, while an extrovert prefers larger groups where they can move fast and change topics. An introvert is humble. An extrovert talks about their accomplishments. An introvert needs time to prepare, while an extrovert will wing it. And an introvert is calm, where an extrovert is excited. So these are some general characteristics of introverts and extroverts. Hopefully you can help identify by this list whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. There are things to keep in mind when you're talking about your own personal growth, and that's in regards to the 6 challenges that you as an introvert will face, or if you're a leader of a team that has introverts on it. And the 6 challenges are, they tend to get exhausted from people. So when they're in a group, people take energy away from them. So they're going to need to be able to refresh. An introvert is usually challenged in a fast-paced environment, so they need some deep downtime to be able to reflect and think through what they just discovered in a session or in a meeting or in a particular day. That time for reflection is a needed instance for their mental stability. Another one is getting interrupted. They feel like if they hesitate to talk or have a pause while they're talking and some extrovert will speak over them, then they don't feel like they're being heard. So that's a challenge that you as a leader need to be aware of is making sure everyone gets their own voice to speak. Another challenge is the pressure to self-promote. I think instances of needing to be able to promote your own characteristics or your own work performance is something that's not real comfortable for them. Another challenge is the emphasis on teams. Today's work environment, everyone wants to focus on teams, so you just need to make sure that the introvert has the ability to work and get their satisfaction from their own personal work, but that you adjust the style of your team based on an introvert. And then another one is negative impressions. So they're conscious of when they don't speak or they don't have a lot of facial expressions, that they're not paying attention or they're not engaged. While they are, they may just not show it emotionally. So you want to be aware that that's a challenge for them. So as an introverted leader, you want to be able to, the book talks through the 4 different P's that are you can use to help yourself as an introvert. The first one is P for prepare. The next one is presence. The next one is push. And the fourth one is practice. So when we talk about prepare, we want to spend a little time talking about this is really something that's a natural sweet spot for an introvert. They will typically be ready and want to prepare for either a meeting or any type of work setting situation. For example, if they're asked to help with a review do an interview, they will typically review the resume ahead of the interview and make sure they document a list of questions or things they want to understand better after reading the resume, as opposed to potentially an extrovert will just use the time in the meeting to get to know that person, and they won't necessarily look and read the resume ahead of time. You also want to make sure that your presence. So if you're in a meeting or on a call and you're an introvert and someone calls on you, you want to make sure that you lift your face away from your laptop and engage them with your eyes and look at them and make sure that they know that you're present in that situation. Push, you want to make sure that you as an introvert are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So you may be hesitant to offer input into a meeting, but you want to make sure that you push yourself to do that. And it's something that you don't have to be an extrovert all the time, but you want to push yourself to be more extroverted in a particular setting. And then practice, obviously, we want to make sure that you continue to think about and practice what you want to do better to continue to be a strong leader as an introvert. So we'll go through an example. An example might be that you want to be heard in meetings, and how can you use the 4P process to facilitate that? So the first one, prepare. So you want to make sure if you want to be heard in meetings that you prepare a list of questions, prepare talking points, and get to the meeting early. The presence, you want to speak up and challenge yourself to speak up in the first 5 minutes of the meeting. You want to push yourself. You want to make sure that any key points that you used or prepared for the presentation or the meeting, that you make your key points and reemphasize them at some point during the meeting. And then practice, you want to make sure that you try these techniques in your next meeting and note the results. What worked? What will you do differently? So these are how you would apply the 4P process, an example of how you wanted to be more heard in a meeting. Questions that you can use then to apply the 4Ps going forward. So when you're done with this video, I challenge you to try to use these 4Ps, this 4P process to change how you go about doing your work as an introvert. Under the prepare, you want to think through these questions. How has preparation helped you in the last month? How can you prepare now for an upcoming leadership or people scenario? Under the presence, you want to ask these questions. Who do you know who exhibits strong presence? What actions do they take? What distraction can you eliminate to be more present in the meetings or in the work environment? And the push, you want to ask these questions. How have you pushed yourself out of your comfort zone this past week? What was that like? What impact did it have? How might you consider pushing yourself this week? And then practice. What people or leadership skill have you been practicing? What strength can you enhance by practicing this week? And lastly, I'll close with this item. You want to remember that you take one step at a time. So these 4Ps are something that you can try to use to increase your ability to function as a leader, as an introvert. But remember, you're just taking one step at a time and try to do one of these pieces every day, and eventually you'll become a stronger leader. I wanted to highlight, I'll do another video on how you can be an introvert and lead your team. So these would be the four P's that you would use for leading people, and the items below them. I'll have another video that talks through those. And the reference again is The Introverted Leader by Jennifer Kahnweiler. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like, or please consider subscribing. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.